Hey there friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I want to go over all of the upcoming superhero video games we know are in the works right now, and recent superhero game releases have been quite hit or miss. We have successes like Marvel Rivals and Spider-Man, and also some pretty big failures in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and Marvel's Avengers. So hopefully these games that I'm talking about now end up being the former and not the latter. Starting off, we have Marvel 1943, Rise of Hydra. In this game, you can play as Captain America and Black Panther, as well as a couple other characters, and it's a single player game that looks incredibly interesting as it's told from numerous perspectives as you try to take down Hydra. And what I like about this game, one, it's pretty far along. It seems like it is going to be dropping in 2025, so it's probably the first one on this list that we will actually get hands-on with, and I do think it's telling a story from a different era, which I do like as well. A different Black Panther entirely from the one that we see in the MCU, so that is all pretty exciting. The next game, which we don't have any actual footage of quite yet, is another Black Panther game. The Rise of Hydra is from Skydance, and then this one is from Cliffhanger Studios, and it looks to be a modern Black Panther game, once again single player, that looks very, very interesting to me, just because I do feel like it can tell a story that is lacking because of what happened with Chadwick Boseman in the MCU and his untimely passing. And so hopefully they're able to tell a tale that makes a lot of sense and is able to continue to elevate that character in the public eye, and that's something that I would be excited about. It is interesting that we have two different Black Panther games in the works, even though they do look to be very, very different from each other. The next game we have just a little bit of information about, but it is from a studio that is pretty reputable when it comes to the superhero games, and that is Wolverine. This one is from Insomniac, who obviously makes the Spider-Man games. And I'm just pretty excited about this one overall. It does seem like it's going to be a mature rated game, so there is going to be heavy violence and likely to be some adult language as well, which I do think would fit a Wolverine story, and it looks like it's going to be pretty grounded as well, which I'm really looking forward to. Overall, this is probably my most anticipated game, just because I do feel like it is from a studio we know can deliver these types of games. They're taking on a new IP. As far as a new entry into the superhero verse, we haven't gotten a standalone Wolverine game in quite some time, and I do think overall this is one that can be massively successful, despite the fact that they had some issues with the leaks from Insomniac recently that really put a hamper on what they were developing over there. Next up is going to be from WB Games. It's our first DC game on the list, and that is Wonder Woman. We only have seen a little bit of footage from this one, nothing too crazy. I just am excited about this one for different reasons. One, it is from the same studio that made the Lord of the Rings Shadow of War games and will be using the Nemesis system, which is one of my favorite video game systems that we've ever seen. It's absolutely awesome. I don't know how they're going to incorporate it into a Wonder Woman game, but that alone has me very excited. Once again, single player game, which seems to be the focus of these games now, as with Marvel's Avengers and with Suicide Squad, they try to go into more of a looter shooter type of game, and that just hasn't been successful with this genre. So I'm really excited that we get all these single player stories. We don't know when this one's going to be coming, maybe 2025, maybe 2026. Wolverine, Rise of Hydra, both of those games looking potentially 2025. Wolverine maybe 2026, and then Black Panther is probably a little bit further away. But yeah, Wonder Woman looks incredibly interesting, and hopefully we do get more successful DC comic character games in the near future besides just Batman, because that has been kind of carrying that franchise recently. And I'd love to see them utilize more of the characters that we have in the DC library. That can be very successful in my opinion. And apologies for using Marvel Rivals footage in between what we have for these other games. It's just easier than just simply putting the short clips, and that's all we get from the games that have only been teased so far. Anyway, the next game on the list is from Arcane and does look to be quite different from the others. That is Marvel's Blade. This is actually going to be a third-person game with a very unique art style that could be incredibly interesting, and I'm really looking forward to this. I do hope we get more games like this in the superhero kind of universe that feel very different from one another. I do like that we're getting some single-player stories that are more serious in tone, but I would also love to see more unique art styles, more different types of games in the genre, maybe some more roguelikes or even potentially platformers, something like that are superhero games. Anything like that I think would be incredibly interesting, and I do hope we see Marvel's Blade actually deliver. This is another one that should be releasing in 2025 from what I've seen, and it looks like it could be very good. Now we'll have to wait and see how the gameplay feels and all that kind of good stuff. It is a property that you could do a lot with, because obviously there's going to be vampires involved. We've got Blade, who is an extremely interesting character. If they're able to really embrace all of that, this could be a game that I think a lot of people will be really looking forward to. Next up, we have Marvel's Iron Man. This is from EA and Motive. I am begging them to use the technology that allowed us to fly in Anthem, another fallen looter shooter, that the flying in that game and the combat was incredible. So if they use that, or even some of the stuff we see in Marvel Rivals. The reason I say from Anthem is it's also owned by EA, so if we get Motive using some of that technology and the flying and combat feels as good in a single player Iron Man game, it could be absolutely unbelievable. And so I'm really hopeful about this one. This is another one that I feel like is quite far away though. We haven't seen a whole lot about this game. 2026 at the earliest, maybe 2027 or later even, depending on how far along they are. This one hasn't even been really teased online all that much, so because of that, I'm not really too hopeful that it's going to be anytime soon, but they could surprise us, and I do have some high hopes about this one as well. It is a game that I feel like could be awesome, and again, it could be the introduction to a game that we get for that's a superhero style game, a Superman style game. Now obviously this is going to be Marvel versus DC, but Superman is another character that's been underutilized. I'd love to see a Green Lanterns game. There's so many different options that I think could be very, very interesting. As far as games that we think could be in the future, this is kind of more speculation than confirmed at this point. There is potentially going to be a Venom game. I would imagine we definitely get a Venom game at some point after the Wolverine game. And the reason I say that, we got to play as Venom in Spider-Man 2 for a little bit. And it just would make an incredible amount of sense to have a Spider-Man game, or at least a game that has Spider-Man and Venom in it. Maybe you literally call it Spider-Man and Venom and just have them kind of maybe not working together necessarily, but kind of two sides of the same story. Could be incredibly interesting. I cannot see them not going back to that property and not utilizing what they've already done. It was rumored that we were going to get a Venom game that was similar to the Spider-Man Miles Morales as a smaller title. That doesn't look to be the case anymore, but who knows? It's definitely something that I think will happen eventually. We just don't know when. Now, another game that has been rumored is another Marvel Avengers game. This one would likely be either single player or co-op potentially, but not a looter shooter, not a live service game as far as what we know. And again, I think if we get a game like Marvel's Ultimate Alliance type with the Avengers, could be incredibly awesome and something that I would absolutely love to play. But again, we have to wait and see. There's no promise that we're going to get a game like that anytime in the near future. It is just kind of speculation. Until we've got confirmation that it is definitely going to be arriving, I will remain skeptical there. And then finally, we have a Superman game, which has long been rumored, but again, no studio tied to it, nothing like that. We also think that the Rocksteady devs will probably shift back to a Batman game or some game in that universe, Arkham style. So that's another one that I will wait and see once we get further confirmation, but there's likelihood is they'll go back to their bread and butter after the struggles with Suicide Squad and some of the things that we've seen there as well. Anyway, let me know if there's any others that you've heard floating about. What games in what superhero focused games would you love to see? Whether it's a style of game, like we got a hero shooter with Marvel Rivals, whether it is a specific character, like John Stewart, Green Lantern, or something of that nature that you think would be great for a video game, let me know in the comments down below. My name is Jopa. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.